So that being said, today I wanted to take time, a favorite tool of mine, bless you, is I take a look at multimodal tutorials. And basically what this is this comes from, the origin of this I see comes from gaming. So what you'll have is you'll have adolescent boys and girls, and they'll go online and they'll go gaming, and then what they'll do is they'll beat a level, and they'll want their friends to see like how they beat that level, or they'll go in and they'll want like, you know, their friends to see when, you know, you got to the end of that one level and then you beat the boss, and then the screen like made this, you know, it all turned blue and had all these text on it. You want to show your friends, but what if they're not there? So we have technology where you can go in and you can videotape what happens, so you can walk them through. And so I've been thinking about, well, this is a pretty powerful tool that you can use. You know, we go into these multimodal environments, we have our students go online, you know, we say, all right, we'll go to the website, log into the Ning, when we used to use Nings, log into the Ning, go in, click on this, click on this page, go to that profile, and then all of a sudden we have like this long textual directions within an email that by line 3, I don't know how you are as a reader, but I don't read that way anymore. And so by line 3, people are just confused, and then it come back, well, that button, I don't see it, my button, you know, then the browser refresh, now the button's in the left. All of that stuff, we can remove that by doing a very, very quick little video. And if you do a video, you can talk them through, you can narrate where they should go and what they should be looking for, or we can grab images. What we will try to do is, as this week progresses, we already went through the support group. Oh, I already went through all this. Oh, this is since I have it here. We put together a QR code for this. Basically, this, if you snap that QR code with your phone, it'll bring you right to the link for the website. QR codes are a pretty fun tool to play with. I've seen buildings where they will have, the teacher will have almost like a game. They'll have a text, so they'll put QR codes around the building, knowing that their kids come in. It's like a subversive element of the building. They know their kids have cell phones and they can take pictures. Go ahead, Colin. Hopefully it works.
I'm gonna try it too.
So if you use like a scanner and it'll bring you right to the website.
Says it can't load it.
Can't load it?
Oh, that's because my phone isn't. I just switched my phone on, so my phone isn't connected to the internet here. Otherwise, it would have already come up.
And some phones, I know the Android phones, you have to have like a QR scanner for it. But this is, any one of you can make
If
this.
you just put QR scanner into your app searching,
It'll pull up one.
Yeah.
A free.
It's searching for it now. I'm not
So
getting
what's
there.
nice is this is a way to take something that's online and pull it into our world. So this is basically the website that we have.
It worked.
Is it working?
It did work.
Yay.
Yay!
That could have been a huge, epic fail.
That is so exciting.
With all of these tools, there are numerous tools out there that you can use. There are numerous tools. There's, as Don would say, there's a whole ocean out there. It matters where you want to dip your bucket. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. We're going to try as hard as we can to focus on one tool a day. We're going to try as hard as we possibly can, but there are other tools out there that you can use. And if the first tool we're talking about doesn't work in your discussions with us, we'll try and help you out and pull you to another one that may work.
Oh, can you pop the code back up?
Yes, sir.
I'm now.
Is it working?
Yeah, if we get two of us, then we'll.
This is a fail-safe test.
Okay, searching for it.
Oh, and while we're here, one of the other important pieces of this is, as we talked, did it work, sir? Thank goodness. Hey, thank goodness. That could have been epic fail. Day one. And actually, I'm glad that we came back here. One of the things is that every day we want to focus on 3 elements of the tool, of the theme. One of which is obviously just application and use. We want to give you an overview of how to use it. 2 is we want to talk about assessment. You know, I mean, it's what happens if students use this? What happens if you use it? How can we figure out if your students are using it effectively? So we'll try and give you some lenses to think about assessment, and then research. How would you use this as a research tool, at least ideas that we have used? and then also ways that you possibly could use it. Most of the real hands-on stuff we'll do in the Cyber Cafe. Like today, if you like the product that we'll talk about, I would suggest when we get in and we sit down, we install everything there. So I'm going to talk about multimodal tutorials, and like I said, these are screen captures. They're called screencasts. There's numerous different ways to look at it. Basically what we're talking about is whatever is happening on your screen at a given point, you're capturing that and you're sending it out to whoever whoever you want to see it. It could be video, it could be an image grab, a static image. If it's video, you can narrate it. If it's an image grab, you can annotate it. I use a product called Jing, okay? J-I-N-G. It's run by, many of you have seen Camtasia before and used Camtasia in studies. It's run by the same people. Jing is free, which, as I mentioned before, is a pretty good price point. There is a Jing Pro version. It's $14.95 a year, I believe. I pay for Jing Pro. The advantages to Jing Pro is they automatically give you, and they're smart, they give you a upload to YouTube button right away. The other thing is you can download the videos, but you can download them as like Quicktime files or MP4 files as opposed to Flash files. So those are two advantages for me. For 99% of the stuff that you would do with Jing, you can go with the free version. But that's something that we would talk about. When you sign up for Jing, you would go sign up for Jing, the product itself. You have a small program that downloads to your machine. It works on PC or Mac. It's very lightweight. I'll show you how it works on my computer. Also, there is a product called Screencast.com. That's basically the same company. What will happen is Screencast.com is a web hosting space. It's the same thing as YouTube. It's the same thing as Vimeo. All the stuff that we're talking about now with the LRA. The trick is with Screencast.com is it's locked down and private. So you can, let's say you put together videos of, you're looking at some text with your students, or you're doing think alouds, and you don't really want the entire world to go look at this. You can put that in Screencast.com and nobody can see it. You send out that link to students and they can go view the videos as many times as their little heart's desire, and they can come back, and you don't have to have 1,000,001 people coming back trolling, searching for it, stuff like that. So it protects you. Because you need to understand, just the same way that we're trying to talk LRA into using YouTube and Vimeo, you need to understand the product that you're putting out there and where it's going, and eventually what happens with this. We need to be informed users of technology. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to exit out of this, and I'm going to show you what this actually looks like. So I have I'm going to record my screen using QuickTime Player. So it's like I'm recording myself doing a screen recording. It's like the sound of one hand clapping. No, I don't want that. That's oof. Is that what I actually look like? New screen recording.
That's terrifyingly accurate. So.
I know it is. See, this is a good first test of YouTube and Vimeo because everyone else will look stellar. All right, click to record the full screen. All right, so I use a product called Jing. Now, Jing right now is installed on my machine. So up here is what it looks like. So when you first install Jing, most people don't see this. When you first install Jing, it'll come up as a little sun. You can see up in the, because my projector is off, it's not visible. But what it'll come up as is a little sun up in the top right corner. Let me try and drag it over. On the Macs, it'll be right up top.
Yeah.
Come on.
It just flashed
There for a second.
Yeah. Come on.
Here it is.
Stay there.
Mr. Sun.
Come on.
Mr.
You in the left corner. All right. Is that better?
Yeah.
So there's a little sun up there, and what will happen is if you go to the sun, it'll pull out these little rays, and one of which is a little gearbox, and that's your more, that's your preferences. You have history, and then you have the capture part. When I set mine up, to me the little sun part, because I usually have a lot of different things happening on my computer at once, it's easier to put it up here. If you have a PC, it'll start with the sun, and usually it's like right up in the middle or down here on the bottom. You can also move it to the little status bar. So on Windows, your little program bar or whatever it's called now, it'll be in that area. But here's what'll happen. So if I click on it, let's say I'm reading online, and I go to, let's go to make use of and see what they have out there. And so I go in, I say, okay, cool websites and tools, and this is makeuseof.com, and I look in and I see, okay, here is, Jam Cloud, here is a tool spot. So this is testing. Let's say I'm reading online and I want to see how quickly it takes a page to load, if that's affecting how my students are reading online, how basically from page to page. And let's say I wanted to share this with a colleague. Let's say I'm looking at this online and I say, you know what? Julie Coiro, I'm going to name drop right now, she would really, really enjoy this page. And I want to show it to her. Now, of course, I can send her an email and put the URL in it and send it to her that way. What I could also do is, with a tool such as this, I go in, I hit capture, and you'll see when I hit capture, I have a little target. Okay, there's the little yellow bars on the target. What I can do is I can basically click and drag. I'm going to redo that. I can click and drag. It's going to open up a little window here, and then I let go. And what you'll notice is now I have a little window here in the middle. I have a capture size here. I can go back and adjust it a little bit. And then I have buttons here on the bottom. But this window is basically what I'm going to capture on the screen. I can do the full screen, but I need to think a bit ahead about what I actually want to take. Like, what do I want to capture from this screen, and how do I want to capture it? So I have options. I can go in, I can grab an image, I can grab video, I can turn on my webcam and look at my horrendous face again, I can redo it, I can cancel it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off and just grab an image. And it'll pull up this nice, sleek editor for the image. And you have your annotation tools, you can title it. So I'm going to title it, and I'm going to say tool spot. Then over here, I'm going to make a little text box. And I'm going to say, Julie, this is the page that I was talking about. And I will try and spell correctly. And then I will also take a little arrow, and I'll just drag it up and say, this is the exact page. I can box it, I can undo that. Now, right now it's titled, I have it annotated. I have a couple options, one of which is I can upload it to the internet right now. I can upload it to Screencast. As I mentioned, when you sign up for Jing, you'll also sign up for Screencast that gives you web hosting. Basically, it'll take this image, it'll put it online, and it's available, and it's up on your screencast.com. I can also download it to my desktop. So I can just take this image, save it to my desktop. So I'm going to save it right on my desktop right now. And I'm going to minimize it. Now here it is. So I can take this image and I can do all those normal things you would do. I can put it in the email now. I can put it on a web page. I can put this on a Word doc. I can print it out and hand it out at a conference. If you're working with students, now you have a screen grab of whatever the case may be. You can hand it out to your students in a Word doc in class. But let's say, because it's 2011, that you want to create a video. So I can go back in, and let's say I want to do the same piece. I go to capture. I only want to select this part here. And then here it says capture a video. I can, once again, turn on the webcam and run a video if you want to, but I can hit capture a video, and what it's going to do is it's going to tell me my mic is muted right now. So I unmuted the mic. You can see down here they have a little progression of what's being recorded. So right now it's recording this section. So here I would say, Julie, this is a website that I thought you want to take a look at. This would be something that you would want to use. Here's toolspot.com. I think it would help out with the research. While we're here, the other thing is, wherever that frame is, that's what's recording. So if I bring other stuff in and out, that still is being recorded. So you can basically have an eye into your computer and you're narrating it, and you can flip in and out and show people other things that you would want them to see. So then I'll hit finish. And here's my preview. Once again, I'm going to title it, and I'm going to call it toolspot.com. And then what I can do is I can preview it and see what it actually looks like. So I unmuted the mic. You can see down here they have a little progression of what I look at. Now I'll bring other stuff in and out. That still is being recorded. So you can basically have an eye into your computer. So now what will happen is, now you have that video clip. Now you have a capture. The real power is your annotation, your thinking aloud for your students, for friends, for faculty. You can show people where they should be able to go now and how they should be able to use this tool. When you're done, because I have a little bit of additional pieces, I can instantly push this and it uploads it to YouTube, and then it goes to my YouTube channel. I can download it and save it as an MP4, and then I can hand it out to kids. They can, for those of you that have iPod touches or you use a lot of mobile technology, now you can create little video podcasts really quickly. You can have little videos that you can send out to students. They can have it on their mobile devices. They can use it on their iPod touches. You can have it on a website. So the real power is this, and then you can also upload it to Screencast, to the web hosting that they give you. The power of this tool is, once you create those videos, think back to that initial idea I gave about the email and the long textual directions. You can say now in your email, I want you to go to this website and take a look at ToolSpot. You can put together that video and show people where you want them to go, and once that video is online, they can go back again and again and again and go view it. Yes, sir?
What does your recipient need to have on their machine? Because one of the problems, sometimes is you do something, it's in Flash,
Yep.
Someone can't read it on their iPhone, or you've created it in Windows
Yep.
video viewer and they can't watch it on a Mac. You get those kind of problems.
What I've noticed is, because we've used this before where we had iPads, and I believe the other issue that we've had with this is we've used Moodle. I do a lot of work in Moodle classrooms, and the YouTube videos with Moodle is messy. Sometimes YouTube videos work, but these ones in Screencast do not. I forget which way this one heads. I can find out if this will work on the iPads and stuff. I believe this works. But what will happen is, so if I look through here, I have tons of videos that I've captured. One of the pieces that we can talk about, let's see which one I have here. I did a workshop where we were looking at VoiceThread as a tool. Actually, here's one on Extra Normal. So I'll work with teachers and I'll talk about the use of Extra Normal, which is a great tool. But getting in, logging in, and actually figuring out how to use it is challenging. So what I do is, this is online. Once a teacher has this link here, they can get to that video. This video is not on YouTube. This is just for teachers I work with. So if they have this link, I can basically take that link, I can embed it, I can make it a hyperlink, I can put it on a web page, and wherever that link goes, that video goes. So the nice thing about that is, a teacher can go in and you know, when I work in a PD session working with teachers, we'll go through 2 or 3 tools, and by the end of the day, it's just like, oh, it's way too much. They can go home later and watch the video and figure out, okay, here's what they're talking about, here's how I access the tool.
Do they need a password to get
No.
into?
You can set it up so that it does have a password. With screencasts, you can set up, you know, only certain viewers are allowed. You can make it public, you can make it private, you can have it password protected. The videos that I have in screencasts are just public. Yes, sir.
Are those Flash movies?
That's what I want to test. I think if I go to multimodal
I can't see them.
tutorials
Do I need to sign in?
for that video itself,
No, to be able to look at stuff on screencast.com.
What's that address? So
It's asking me-
if you do,
It's asking me for an email and a password.
so for example, if you go to, let me go over here, because I have other videos that are on there.
I'm looking at screencast.com/users/OBYRNEI.
So what it's doing is it's thinking that you're me, and so it wants you to log in as me.
Okay.
But if you go to, so for example, if you go to, are you in a browser right now?
Yeah,
Can you type this in your browser window? Can you type in tiny?
yeah.
Type in tiny.cc/dig sand
tiny.cc/dig
/dig sand SAND and hit enter. Do you see this page?
Yeah.
Okay. Now if you go to, not the Jing page, but if you go to, I think Dropbox I did. Let me find a video that I did. So if you go to Dropbox on the left and you click on that link,
Yeah.
does that video show up?
So what was the URL again?
It was tiny.cc/digsand.
Slash, okay.
I've gone to your Dropbox page.
Is there a video down in the bottom?
Maybe.
You see a stormtrooper helmet?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you hit play, I did that with Jing. So that's the acid test.
In Dropbox now.
It's not working on the tablet.
Yeah. It's running, yeah.
So it's the iPad's not playing with it because it's flash based.
Yeah, because iPad.
Yes, but it is running.
iPad hasn't had an agreement yet with, Apple doesn't have an agreement with Flash.
I'm surprised that they haven't.
I know, it's frustrating that they
Yeah.
don't.
They have no intention of ever having one.
No, they.
Unless
Well,
someone
with Apple,
sells
you would
them
think
their
that
grade.
with all the minds, they would come up with, you know,
A workaround.
a workaround, or I know there are other workarounds, but
Loads of developers have done it, but they won't put them on.
yeah, I mean, it's just, you would think that by this point we'd have it accessible. In that case, there's other options. You could still, you know, I mean, you can get to YouTube. For that situation, what you could do is use this tool and get to YouTube. But like I mentioned before, there's tons of different tools that are out there. Jing is a good application, it's a good tool. There might be other tools that you might want to use that would do this. I think the bigger part here is more or less the idea of using this as a way to provide directions, instructions for students, and other ways to use this tool as opposed to what we've currently been doing. So what I want to do is I want to take a couple minutes and look at possible applications for this, and then to me the most important part is to listen to your ideas, thoughts, and questions. Yes?
When I went to and I only have the Jing free site right now, but on that, when I'm comparing it to ScreenFlow, which is what I usually use,
Yep.
does Jing allow you to do that level of editing?
What you can do, the reason why I also paid for Jing Pro is now I can download it as MP4, and then I can go into iMovie and edit it, or Windows Movie and
Also,
edit.
you edit in iMovie?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll download the video file. That's a hugely important point though. One thing that Katina brought up earlier is there is a subtle art to this. With the images, you know, I mean, basically with the images you'll go in, you'll grab a screen capture, and if it's not right, you'll just toss it. With the video, I am a believer in keep the video short. 2-3 minutes tops. Nobody's going to sit around for the 10-minute, you know, the Band of Brothers. Nobody's going to sit around for that. Make it 2 to 3 minute tops. Bring the students in, show them what you want to see, bring your colleagues in, show them what you want to see. If it's anything longer than that, make multiple clips. For VoiceThread, I have 2 or 3 different videos. One is signing on, one is actually navigating and searching through VoiceThreads, and one is creating a VoiceThread. Very quick. But once you get into it, play with it. Try one out, test it out. You're gonna have your bloopers reels, and that's fine. Then you'll finally get into the habit of, okay, here's what I want to capture, pull stuff in, annotate, or just narrate it, and then save it and see what it looks like. But what I have done is I've wanted that functionality, is I've wanted the video file, because then I had issues where I was in an environment where they couldn't see it because it was Flash, or they couldn't see it, and I wanted to edit down a chunk. So possible applications for this. One of which, as I mentioned earlier, is a way to show students how to use or how to navigate a certain environment. So we had this video put together. This is one I did on Google Presentation. So this is for a class I'm teaching at UNH. It's basically, I want my students to use Google Presentation to collaboratively put together PowerPoint documents. And so I just walk them through how to do it. And this video is online, it's free, they can go back to it numerous times. So all those games we used to play where the students say, well, I couldn't get to it. I didn't know what the URL was. I didn't know how to sign in. No. The video's on there, you can go look at it 1,000,001 times. That excuse is out of the books. Plus that long textual directions piece that I would email back and forth 1,000,000 times. It's that I have too many things to do to worry about that. Screencasts, also you can use this as a lecture capture tool. Right now I'm recording this on my laptop, but at UNH we have Blackboard, we have a product called Integrity. Some people mention they use Camtasia, but you can basically record yourself doing a lecture and then have that out there for your students to review. You can either do that during class and have the lecture recorded, or if you are a proponent of flipping the classroom and Salman Khan and all those ideas, what you can do is have that lecture chunk that you would normally present in class, record that at home, and provide that online for your students to watch. And when they come into class, say, okay, now we're going to have discussion, we're going to have hands-on, we're going to have some powerful learning. For assessment, screencasts can be used to provide audio or video feedback. So you can go through and you could be reading one of your students' assignments, and you can basically go in and just talk through, okay, here's what I really like is what you're doing, but here's the part of your writing that had some challenges. Here's what you'd want to look at later on, and here's where you could really build up. It's very, very powerful learning. It takes a lot of your time. Okay, you can grab images, but there are teachers out there, there are professors that will go in and they'll give audio feedback and video feedback on student work.
So it's like track changes, and you click on a comment, and it's
you could have a whole video if you're talking about
a video.
Yeah, I mean, you could just walk them through it. For a paper, it could be challenging, but let's think about, we all talk about how do we assess like multimodal content. Your students build a website. How do you assess that? Well, you can just turn this on and walk through. Here's what I noticed, here's what I like, here's different aesthetic elements I think you should work on. Also, what we notice, and I apologize for this screen setup, what we'll notice is that a lot of our kids, there we go, that's using technology. I've used this in the past to have students document their own learning. In my class the other day, we talked about performance-based assessments and math, and can it happen? And so we had a student that used this to have students sort of, 7th grade students to talk through the math problem and explain what they did. So they ran this on their computer and they talked through, well, here's how I actually did it, here's what I was thinking, here's the challenges that I had. So the students were doing that, 7th graders. Very powerful for them to talk it through and do a think aloud and capture that. So, I mean, sometimes we can't be there to see everything that the students do.
Who did they post those to?
What they did was they had it online, had it in screencast, and then the teacher could go in and grab it. There's different workarounds for this. For a situation like that, what you can do is create, like 5 or 6 dummy Gmail accounts. Like one for, let's say I'm a 7th grade teacher and I got 7 periods, I could create OPR in class 1, OPR in class 2, and then say, all right, when you go home, if you're going to use Jing, log in with this account and save your work. Different workarounds.
Because I've seen, one of the teachers I've worked with that blew me away, he's sending individual podcasts of how to solve quadratic equations to the phones of the kids he teaches.
Yeah.
And he's got permission from the principal to do that. You know, because you can see online how to solve quadratic equations. There's probably 10 videos of
Yeah.
different teachers doing that. And so he says for homework, instead of working through these, I'm going to give you the URLs
Yeah.
of these
Yeah.
YouTube clips. But now he said that's not good enough. I need to be able to send a targeted
And make sure.
little 2-minute podcast to a kid who's got stuff.
Well, what's nice is then you can provide supports for individual students that need it. If you plug this into like an online classroom system, if you plug it into like a Moodle environment where you can see that the students are in and they're actually viewing it, you can make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. In terms of research, a couple different things we've done is in my dissertation and then the pilot of it, I had students building hoax websites. And I wanted to figure out what were the design elements, what other aesthetics they built into their websites that I wasn't capturing with my different assessments, my multiple choice assessments. So what I did was I sit down with them at a computer and I'd run Jing and basically interview them, so it's capturing the interview, and I'd have them walk me through what they did. So they'd sit there and point, oh, here's what we did, here's how we did this. Then you can take that and plug it into NVivo, Elan, whatever else you want. Now you have that video content that you can annotate. Another way is basically, one of the sessions that Greg and I will talk about this week is the COIL instrument, which we have for the dissertation, Critical Online Information Literacies. We want students to, most of you have seen some of our work with the ORCA project and our assessments. Well, when I left the lab, we were building new online assessments. Well, how do you build these online assessments? What we did is we went in and we grabbed screen captures of websites, and those became the items. So for example, let's take a look at item 1, and we'll be talking about this later this week, but which author is the most knowledgeable person about volcanoes? So this is a multiple choice item, it's in Google Forms, and these down here are screen captures. So I want kids to look at a web page, and I want them to answer the questions, but looking at web pages. So what I did was I grabbed screen captures of websites and used that as the multiple choice parts for the test. So now you can go in, you can grab screen captures or videos of websites and say, okay, I want you to go to this website, here's the part I want you to look at. You know, what's powerful for this too is for students that are striving readers, you can go in and we know that they get distracted by all this excess information. You can go in and you can highlight parts of text and say, here's the part I want you to read and focus on. Here's all the stuff that you need to, you can sort of filter out and you don't have to worry about.
What about copyright?
Copyright's an interesting question. I think that copyright issues have been changing lately. We technically, with this, I think are still covered in fair use. I'm probably wrong. It's, from what I'll do, a lot of times I'll use, I'm a believer in Creative Commons, and I'm trying to get more involved in it as I do more initiatives at UNH. So I try with my work to go in and grab open source or freely available images. For when we were doing this work, we had that question about copyright, and so the route that we went is we got in touch with Renee Hobbs and talked to her about copyright. I had to contact individuals that were the web hosters and basically say, can we use your content? This is what it's for. It's legally, apparently we were covered for that because it's open and it's out there. I mean, copyright is in a constant state of flux as these changes occur to literacy. They're changing everything else. So it's, as long as I don't take this out on the road and sell it at this point, I should be okay. Earlier when I was talking about the hack jam I went to and you're taking the US website, the White House website and changing it, that might be problematic. So that's Jing. There are numerous other tools. If you go back to our website, I have those ideas listed here. At the bottom I have our PowerPoint. We also have subpages here. The Jing subpage, I need to add in what happened here was my old page on that DigSand website. I don't like the video I did of Jing, so just for you, I'm going to make a new one. But at the very bottom, as I mentioned, there's other options out there for you. And those options are listed below. If you have a Mac and you're running online, you already have QuickTime. It's a great tool. It does screen captures now. We've used iShowU, Camtasia's on there. When Screener is a great product that seems to work well, especially for those of you that are fans of Twitter. And then Screencast-O-Matic I heard from Andrea Zellner when I was at NCTE. Screencast-O-Matic works well. I still like Jing. I tested out the two, and I still am a fan of Jing. So, what ideas or what potential do you see coming from this sort of tool? And I'll kill off this.
You mentioned the visual aspects of things. I know when I give my students, my graduate students, a list of directions. For example, it's amazing to me that there are still people who hit the return key to make things double-spaced. And they know that there's a better way, but they don't know what that is. And if I give them, send them an email or type out the directions, here's what you do. You go to the paragraph group on the home page, and they just get lost in all the text. But if I do a screencast and I show them, click here, change this setting, they see it and they will post messages back or email back and say, that's how you do that. I knew it could be done, but I didn't know how.
Yeah.
And now they can see it, they can hear it, and that makes it really powerful as a job aid.
And that's the thing is, if you think about the steady stream of all those little things that you do,
Yeah.
if you sat down once and the time it took you to go find that old email where you sent those directions to a student 3 years ago,
Right.
and you made a video and it was up, then from now on you could say, you know, here is a website. Let's say you put together a wiki that was basically the handbook for you as a professor. Here's everything you need to know to be my student. All the videos that you need, all these different pieces are on the wiki, and all of them are just pages like I had on the DigSand website. You know, you need to do this, it's already there. Every single question you need is already there. So let's talk about more higher functioning things.
And we can aggregate those. At my university, we have voice threads and screencasts that are job aids like those that we're talking about. You know, how to survive in our classes, how to format things in APA, or whatever it happens to be. And then amongst all of the instructors, if I make one, then other instructors can use it. And I post that to a common shared file site. Though you just gave me the idea that we really ought to be posting those to a wiki. Then it's clickable. There's no reason for somebody else to make a Jing that I have already created.
Yeah.
Or for me to make a new Jing that someone else has already created. So we put those all together.
You
So
can
that's
just have a
powerful.
collaborative website, a collaborative wiki that all of you constantly update and populate.
Right. How to survive, how to make it in our program, all of those kinds of things.
How else would this work in your lives?
One of my faculty, I've not done this, one of my faculty has used it for feedback that, I don't remember who suggested it, that I supervise, and she's shown me the work she does. She uses it on the written work, just as track changes, except that she uses Jing. The student can see what she's talking about, and she uses the video editing tools as she goes, just to provide the feedback. And because my university is entirely online, the students particularly like that because everything that's text-based that you just read doesn't quite have the personal connection that a voice brings to the table. And so the students like that aspect of the feedback. And she does that, not for all papers, because it does take a little more time, not a lot, but a little bit more time, to bring the voice, to bring the warmth of human voices to the feedback environment that she has.
Yes, sir.
We just switched from Blackboard to a new product called Canvas by Instructure.
Okay.
And when you set up a rubric for grading, which most of us do, it has within the rubric the option to do video and or audio comments.
Cool.
It's part of our I think it's instructure.com, and I think if you do it for yourself for a class, it's free to any educator. If you want to use it for your university, then clearly, you know, get set up with them. But for your own classes, for a single educator, it doesn't cost anything. I'm pretty sure all the tools work, at least for now. So, but they're a new company, so you know how it is with new companies. Blackboard was like this, or WebCP back in the old days.
Yeah.
When it first came out, you had an issue, you could send them feedback and they'd fix it. These guys are new, and so they're bending over backwards to keep their new clients. So if I, as a professor, send them feedback, within 2 days I'll get feedback back and say, this is why we can, or this is what we've done, and then they change things.
What was the name of it again?
It's called Canvas, and the company's Instructure.
I looked up structure.com, it says Sears.
Instructure, INSTRUCTURE. They're out of Provo, Utah. It's a powerful system. The other thing it does is
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
can create your documents in any format that you want, or movies, or whatever. And when you put them into your website, into your course website, it sets them up to stream and or run on the website in a form that everybody will always be able to see. And they can download it. I think they come out as RTF files if it's text, but movies, whatever their whatever computer's using, if you download it, it converts to what you can use. So it's kind of a cool thing.
I think it'd be great actually for kids to use for their self-assessment techniques as well. So they can actually take the text that they've created, or the websites or whatever, their wiki, and then they can actually run you through it and say, well, these are, in terms of the questions you want them to answer in evaluating what they did, or you could set up a rubric in regards to those sorts of questions as well, and they could actually assess their own work.
Well, I know from the dissertation, looking at students creating their websites, you'd have a rubric, and it was the students constructed it, and I'd look at it, and I was more interested in how they worked together as groups, and how they manufactured like credibility and relevance and what they did in their website. But it wasn't until I sat down with them and really talked, and they really talked me through the nuances of what they did. You saw the real power, and I never would have captured that. And with this sort of system, you could set it up so that they do it, they can go back even at home and reflect and set it up. I mean, yes, there's extra levels of complexity in having a student go home and have a Jing account and do all that, but then we start to think about what is the power involved in that.
For me, it actually relates to a different type of classroom setup in terms of making the students part of the actual assessment process. And so it changes the nature of student engagement in the classroom as well.
I like the idea of having, I can't do this yet, but I know we're very, very close to it. The idea of, you've got, most of my students are submitting their assignments online.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like, the kind of class I'm thinking about, it's not like 110 sophomores. It's more like a master's level class with 20 students, and they're doing maybe a 6,000 word assignment on dyslexia.
Okay.
Now the idea of then being able to send them a movie of me reading their work, where I can circle something on the screen and say, okay, this is the best part of your thing. This is what I mean by criticality.
Yes.
And they can hear me saying that. That's what I want to be able to do, and I'm not quite there. Yeah, but I think the tool you're talking about would make that very, very directly accessible.
And to me, the most powerful part in all of this is not the tool. Like, obviously, I'm a proponent of Jing. What I like to do is I like to talk to individuals and say, okay, dream. What is it that you want to do? And if that's exactly what you want to do, we'll figure out a tool that'll do it.
Yeah.
Because there's huge power in that.
I've seen a little bit of a limitation with Jing, the free version. Have you seen that with Pro? Because I could only get 6 minutes or 12 minutes.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit more time, but it's not really that much of a. I try and keep it.
If you want to Because like when I edit students' papers, sometimes I take an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're really bad.
Yeah.
Lots of comments.
Well, I mean, this is a nice tool to go in. Like, I'll use for this because I knew I'd be recording longer. I used Quicktime.
Oh, okay.
We've used iShowU. When for the Orca project, we used iShowU to create a lot of the screen captures that you see. Now Camtasia is available on the Mac.
Yeah.
The nice thing about those is it's a program that rests on the machine. As soon as it's done, it plops an MP4 on your desktop. It's there. The bad side is it's very cost prohibitive. You know, then you have iShowU, Camtasia, not as much before, but they're really, you know, a CPU hog. They really bog down the machine. You know, you have to go through and install it, make sure it's updated. This, you can very quickly, you know, it's like having a Swiss Army knife on your machine. Like, you know what, I really want to capture this part. Click, 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 it's done. Now I can send it out.
I don't think we want 1 hour feedback videos. I mean, even apart from the fact that the student may not thank you for it, it would desperately clog up the server.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you know 5-6 minutes would be good. And the other thing is, my department is very, very cautious about publishing whole assignments. We as a faculty, we've kind of agreed we won't send whole assignments out because the students just say, well, that's what we've got to do, you know. But if you say, okay, can I have the student's permission? I've made a 5-minute video. I've taken shots of 2 or 3 of your pages where I'm saying some things. You know, a couple of them are constructively critical, a couple of them are warmly positive. And can I have the student's permission to post that for next year's cohort?
Oh, yeah.
We don't have any trouble getting that permission. And I think it's a really good learning tool. So
With my students, I've been trying to hammer APA. And I'm like, you know what, this is a graduate level course. This is not acceptable. We need to raise the level of scholarly writing. We have to write in APA. And, you know, in the old days, I would just take a sample of student work, blow it up, put it on the overhead, and mark it up with my 8th graders. Now, I went in and I would go into the student's work and I'd take a screen capture and highlight it and say, this is what APA looks like. Okay, now that we know that, you know, put it up on the projector in class, it's in the power, you know, I put it into Google presentation, now it's online, this is what I'm looking for. Or, you know, sometimes you'll read, you know, and you see a sentence that you're like, this is a stellar sentence. Like, this made me happy to read your paper. You know, pull it out, put it up, write in the paper, you know, highlight student work. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
can we just say, because can I give
Yes,
my
sir.
apologies, I've got a meeting tomorrow morning, so I won't be here tomorrow
Yes.
morning, I'll try and come on Friday. But I want to follow what other people are doing. I am on Twitter. I joined Twitter very early, so there's a million Colin Harrisons, but I'm Colin Harrison.
Okay.
So I joined it, and then I didn't do anything for about 3 years. So I've only got about 34 posts. But I've signed up to a thing whereby every time I do a QR code, it immediately sends it to my Twitter feed without me doing anything. So your cool thing has gone to all the people who follow me on Twitter already. So I have to be very careful what I click.
If we're at that Irish pub later, stay away from the QR code.
Christmas specials.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is kind of, you know, I mean, I follow people that I think are dead interesting, and I think that, you know, I found me posting about once a month. Why would anyone follow me? But sometimes you do get some good stuff.
Yeah.
And certainly some of the people I follow have got incredibly interesting links, and they're doing, you know, some social stuff which you just ignore.
Mm-hmm.
But then a couple of times a week there'll be something really interesting. So I am getting more keen on Twitter.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, can we find a way of sharing Twitter?
We can share our Twitter accounts. We can send that around. Also,
Will you find a way of facilitating that? And
I'll
letting
set that
people
up.
know that
I'll set that up, and we'll start a little. Because last year we tried to have a Twitter back channel going on. This year it's starting up again. We'll get that running. But also, if you can't make it the rest of the week, during lunch at the Cyber Cafe, we're there for hands-on. So if you want more help or to talk about Twitter or anything else, we're there. We're here the rest of the week. All of the materials and all the discussion pieces and everything is on that website. But we'll get the Twitter piece up and running. Figure out a way to easily share. You know, here's people that you want. You know, here's our community. the pound LRA2011 hashtag is what everybody's using. So
Yeah.
what I would say initially is, from what I do with Twitter, is I go in, I'll follow the hashtag, and people here at LRA, I'll follow them, and then see what else is going on. I go through fits and spurts with Twitter of being, my latest thing is I use Sumify or I use Paperly with my Twitter feed. Like, I have a lot of people that I follow, and then it gives me like every day I get like a daily digest of like the top 5 things that are happening on my Twitter feed, and that really, really has helped me understand Twitter.
How does it pull that together? I mean, what's
No idea. I think what it does is it sort of aggregates it down, and it finds things that generally I'm interested in, and I'll click on, and it remembers that. I think it also goes and sees stuff that multiple people have clicked on or posted, and it also sees like their weight and value as opposed to others. So certain people that I'll follow that I find a lot of great ideas from, like Wesley Fryer has a lot of stuff that's constantly great. And if he has stuff, it'll pull up to the top of my piece. But it also depends on who you have that you follow in Twitter. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
And I'm going to plug my now postdoc grad student is on in 10 minutes.